It is March 4th, 2023. There's this phrase I often hear in Christian circles, and it goes something like, yeah, I failed. I was just trying to do things in my own strength. And it's true that we can't do anything without Jesus. He says that, unless you remain in me, you can do nothing. So it is true that we rely on God for everything we do. But something about this phrase still bothers me. And it's the way the phrase is often used. Sometimes it becomes a cop-out. It's like people are afraid of failure. So they'll say, yeah, I was just trying to do it in my own strength, instead of taking responsibility for the failure. Or it will be used as a way to be lazy about something. I don't want to just do things in my own strength. I'll let God take control of it. Or sometimes it's because someone is fearful of trying to attempt something. I don't want to try and do things in my own strength. I'll let God take control. In all of these examples, it's not great faith that we're seeing. It doesn't mean this person has more faith because they're not willing to try anything and they're trying to let God intervene. That's not what's happening here. It's actually a lack of faith. You see, today I was reading the story of David and Goliath in 1 Samuel. And Goliath, this massive warrior who's all the Israelites are afraid of, is coming out every day and challenging Israel to send someone to fight against him in a one-on-one competition to the death. And all Israel is afraid. And David comes to King Saul is the one leading Israel's armies. David comes to him and says, hey, I want to go fight Goliath. Saul's like, no, you're a kid. He's a warrior, been training for many years. You can't go fight him. And David's like, hey, I killed lions, I killed bears when I was shepherding my father's flock. Send me. God will take care of me. And finally Saul gives in, and David goes out, and he first puts on all of Saul's armor, and he's like, I can't wear all this. It's too heavy. This isn't going to work. So he takes it all off, and he goes to confront Goliath with a sling and some stones. And Goliath basically mocks him, like, who are you to come against me? I'm a warrior. And David says, you come against me with sword and shield and spear, but I come to you in the name of Yahweh of hosts, and he's going to win this victory for me. So we can see great faith in David here. And this is what true faith is. David didn't just sit on the sidelines and say, oh, God's going to send lightning down and strike down Goliath. No, he goes and he takes action and he confronts him. But he knows that his victory will come from God. His source of power comes from God. It's not him. But he still goes and takes action. So whenever people are saying, I just don't want to do this in my own strength, make sure it's not a cop-out for having weak faith. There's plenty of places in the Bible that talk about working as hard as we can. We should give our absolute best efforts in everything we can. That doesn't mean we're doing it in our own strength. Doing it in our own strength would be like performing some act to try and win God's approval. That's doing it in your own strength. Or if you don't have a relationship with God and you don't care about that and you just try and go off and do whatever you want to do, that might be doing it in your own strength. But taking action and trying to accomplish great feats is not doing it in your own strength. It's taking action with faith that God is going to prosper your way. That's what faith is. That's why James says faith without works is dead. He's not saying you have to work to earn your salvation. He's saying that you do everything you can because you believe that God is with you and you have faith that He's going to see you through no matter what happens. So that's what real faith is. I mean, there's other verses. Paul talks about how he worked harder than all the other apostles, but it was all because of what God was doing in him. And it's just all over the place. Like, there's another letter, I think, from Paul where he says he who is unwilling to work shouldn't eat. It's very important that we give our best efforts and do it in faith that God is with us. That's not doing it in your own strength. You see, if we come in God's name, in the name of Yahweh, in the name of Jesus, there's nothing that can go wrong. If God is for us, who can be against us? I saw a remarkable story today about this church. This happened just recently, where 4 armed men came in and sat down and were presumably going to rob the church and all the people in it. And the pastor recognized it. He was an ex-cop. And he went and confronted these young men and actually asked if he could pray for them, and it ended up praying for them and preaching to them and sent them on their way, and no one was injured, no one was threatened, because God was fighting for them. That pastor knew that if he came in the name of Yahweh, in the name of Jesus, that there was nothing that was going to harm them. And I'm sure it still felt nerve-wracking in the moment, but that's what faith is. Because God is our fortress, He is our strength, He provides everything. And then we go out and we use our talents. We don't bury them in the ground. We try and multiply them and do everything we can, trusting that God is supplying our source of power. That's all I got for today. Peace.